You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, we thank you all for coming in tonight to one of our programs here on the Six Screens. It's called After the Storm, and we have a wonderful woman coming in from Houston, Texas. Her name is Gail, and my goodness, she's making a big footprint here on the Six Screens, and we're so glad to have her here with us. Hello, Gail.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're so glad to have you. I am getting so many good reports about you. It's not even funny. I mean, what are you doing? Calling all of your relatives and telling them to write me or what?
I don't know. I just posted on my Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
But no, we said it earlier. A lot of people are waking up.
Boy,
A lot of people, right?
Isn't
Yeah.
that something, Gail? And I'll tell you what, that's so encouraging. We have so many people we know that are still locked in that watchtower, but I know that they are waking up. They're smelling the coffee. They're beginning to see what's going on behind that evil organization. So
Yeah. I think they're new listeners, really. And so
yeah,
some of the information may be repeat, may sound repetitive, but for the new people waking up, it's good to repeat the information. But we have a good show tonight. It may need to be in two parts, but we're discussing the Ghent, Belgium, the overturning of that case. And so Deasis reached out to me and he's like, "We got to talk about this." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." So let's go ahead and bring in Deasis now.
we're going to bring Dave.
He is our guest again for tonight.
There we are. He looks cool and collective tonight. It doesn't look one bit nervous. He always comes on as just Mr. Cool. Mr. Chill, we call him.
Doesn't he? Yeah.
I try to be.
Yeah. Mr. Chill. Yes, sir. So anyways, I'll step in the background. You guys do your thing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining me again, Deasis. Well, this is a mutual effort. So I didn't know whether to call it, after the storm or the round table or whatever, but just
After the round table.
After the round table. There you go. Yeah. So did you need a boat? Did you buy a boat this week? What happened over there?
Man, corruption.
The weather?
Basically.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's been storming over here every single day. We've had flash floods. In fact, even now, I mean, the weather is not too great. So if the reception is a little bit bad, that's why.
Really? And where I am, there's a little bit of a drought here. It's been over 100 degrees. Oh my goodness. I know when we start getting rain, we're gonna flood as well. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. But you saw a headline about the Ghent Belgium case that was overturned. So last year, just to bring everybody up to speed, and I have so much information in front of me. I mean, I don't know where to start, but last year, and we want to give a shout out to Patrick Hake. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, because he was instrumental in getting this case, the case against shunning, in front of the courts in Belgium. So I did try to reach out to him on a couple occasions. I didn't hear back. Just to let him know we were thinking of him, that we were going to do this show if he wanted to be on, or if he had a statement, but I didn't hear back from him. But he did write an article on his website. But before we start, because we may be showing some clips and some articles, I just wanted to read the copyright disclaimer that under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So I just wanted to get that out the way. I don't want any strikes. And we will cite the information that we are we'll cite, we have the citations for it and everything. So none of this is our original work, but we're making a commentary on it because I said it was a punch in the gut, and you classified it as a slap in the face. What happened?
Absolutely. So, they have overturned this case, and they say that, well, we shouldn't get involved in interpersonal relationships, and that, we shouldn't get involved in interpersonal relationships, especially with regard to, what is it, religion. And, the problem is that it's shunning and it is discrimination. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot for the past week, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And I really hate to play devil's advocate, but if Watchtower wants to disfellowship someone for being a Jehovah's Witness, you know what I say? Fine. But that doesn't mean that they need to go above and beyond that and literally have videos at their conventions about not answering the calls of their disfellowshipped family members or shunned family members. That's too far.
Yeah.
So, I have a problem with that. And then also in the notes and in the letters that you sent me, they say that, well, we shouldn't get involved in something that involves consenting adults. Well, here's the problem with that. A lot of us Jehovah's Witnesses that were baptized, we get baptized young. So how much of a consenting adult can you be if, you're doing this as a child? You're not consenting to it. You're being kind of born into this atmosphere, and then afterward being punished when you don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness to the point of being shunned. So it's not like you get excommunicated like the Catholic Church, because they were comparing it to the Catholic Church. Okay, well, the difference with the Catholic Church and the Jehovah's Witnesses is that if you become gay and you don't want to be part of the church anymore, part of the Catholic Church, they'll still talk to you. Your family still remains your family. You don't get cast away. You don't get your calls ignored. You're just no longer recognized as a exemplary Catholic. And I feel like if the Jehovah's Witnesses have to enforce this, if they really must do this, then I feel like they should model it the same way the Catholics do, where, okay, for instance, Brother Diasis, Sister Gail, you two are no longer Jehovah's Witnesses. So what does that mean? Okay, well, it just means that you're no longer recognized as exemplary members of the congregation. It doesn't mean that you get cut off. It just means that you shouldn't be recognized as a Jehovah's Witness if you're not living in accord, with the religion.
Right.
So,
and these articles does admit that Jehovah's Witnesses is not the only religion that practices excommunication, but it is one of the few that take it this far. And so the reason we were doing this show is this is a win for Watchtower, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why isn't it on their newsroom? I checked a few minutes before we went live. It is not in their newsroom of announcements because they like to brag on their court wins, correct? So why isn't it there? And so I started, look.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, and that's the thing too. They don't want to talk about that because if they talk about it, they're going to have to talk about the whole thing. They're going to have to tell the whole story, and they don't want to do that. They know they don't want to do that.
Yeah, so it's a big win. It's a celebration because the ruling came with a fine. Now, I did see conflicting numbers like 12,000 euros or 96,000 euros that they would have to pay. And the background of this law in Belgium really started in 2007, where the Belgian government approved a new anti-discrimination law.
Right.
in Belgium, right? So it started in 2007, and so when the case was filed in 2015, it was filed on the basis of that law. And Patrick and the team, they won. And I remembered seeing an interview with him, how excited and elated he was. This was a win, and it kind of would set the precedence. But then you had a talk with what's the name of the lawyer here in the US when you were on the show the last time?
Yeah. Zalkin.
Zalkin.
Yeah.
Right. And so this ruling came down like in March of 2020. And a month later, a webinar group of scholars was put together. And it's called the Cessner. They were the Cessner group. Cessner, the parent organization of Bitterwinter, organized a webinar on the Ghent decision, where several leading scholars of both the Jehovah's Witnesses and religious liberty presented papers. They all agreed that the Ghent judges had created an extremely dangerous precedent for religious liberty in general, and expressed the hope that the decision can be overturned. So and then on June 7th, they said happily it was overturned because it would have been, well, one of the articles was it presented the decision of the Court of Ghent against Jehovah's Witnesses is dangerous for the Catholic Church. And I saw
Yeah.
that and I'm like, huh? And interestingly enough, this organization that put on this webinar, Cessner, was created in Italy. And I thought that was interesting. So, but
That is interesting.
yep.
Home of
But
the
I just
Vatican.
Yep, exactly. But I just wanted to bring out this article from the Watchtower, the 1988 Watchtower. April 15th, for those of you who are taking notes, April 15th, 1998, the study article was Discipline That Yield Peaceable Fruit. And the first paragraph, I couldn't read the whole thing, but the first sentence says, think back to your childhood days. Can you recall your parents disciplining you? Most of you can, right? And so, of course, we know what this article is about. It's about 26 paragraphs or so, a study article having to do with disfellowshipping. But then you go down to paragraph 16, where it kind of looks like it's inserted, but anyway, I printed it right off the website. It talks about the court decision. Apparently, there was this woman, she took them to court for shunning her when she disassociated herself from the organization, and the court went to trial, and she appealed. The unanimous judgment of the Federal Court of Appeals was based on broader grounds of the First Amendment. Because the practice of shunning is a part of the faith of the Jehovah's Witnesses, we find that the free exercise provision of the United States Constitution precludes her from prevailing. The defendants have a constitutionally protected privilege to engage in the practice of shunning. And that was the conclusion of this webinar that was put on a month after the Ghent decision. And then on June 7th of this year, it was overturned. So what that looks to me like is that how many times are we going to look to the government to do something? Aren't we seeing that they're not for the people?
Definitely not in this case. And that's the thing. How can they have the audacity to protect their rights to shun by infringing on the rights of the victims of shunning? I mean, if that's not the biggest crock of hypocrisy I've ever heard. So, I mean, it's a huge slap in the face. I mean, it's hard to believe that they even did that. After
Yeah.
you know, we already won. We already had the cat in the bag, and then they're like, no, 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 no. And that's not fair to the people who have to suffer through the shunning. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
talking about, yeah, I mean, we're not talking about getting excommunicated from a church and no longer being recognized as an exemplary member of the church. We're talking about cutting off families, friends, for life. I mean, that goes well above and beyond discrimination.
Right.
And then they have the right to do
Cavdon,
that, and then they feel like those rights should be protected. And that says a lot about them. The fact that they want their rights to be protected to continue to do this to other people. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. It's beyond insane.
Okay, so this ruling came down based on the human declaration, the Declaration of Human Rights. But I'm going to pull that up here in a second. You know, but it seems like their rights to practice the religion the way they interpret the Bible, and that's what the article says. Their right to practice the religion the way they interpret it. But the rights of the participant is not protected. But this article written by Matthew Cavdon said, while the court's sensitivity to the individual impacting, let me start over. While the court's sensitivity to the individual impact of shunning is laudable, its decision regrettably assaults the freedoms of religion and association. So, you know, that's the law. It's just cut and dry. It's their interest, but I still can't get over that panel. And that even the Watchtower wrote about it. It says the Watchtower continued to say that the constitutional guarantee of the free exercise of religion requires that society tolerate the type of harm suffered by her as a price well worth paying to safeguard the right of religious difference that all societies enjoy. So in other words, her pain, isn't that kind of,
yeah, well, I really enjoy being shunned. Please, let's enforce this.
yeah,
I love it.
It was saying, well, her suffering is worth the fight to safeguard their freedom, the freedom for the right to a religious difference. But let me go now to let me pull up the United Declaration of Independence, which was adopted by, oh, I lost the video. Hold on 1 second. Which was adopted by the, okay, I don't know what happened, which was adopted by the United Nations, okay? Article 16, subsection 3 states that the family is the natural and fundamental group unity of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. If you go down to Article 18, yeah, and that contradicts.
This session is no longer being recorded.
That contradicts, you know, what they talk about in the Watchtower about the family being, you know, God's arrangement and what have you. The truth brings not peace but a sword. So Article 18, everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. So it seems like we're at an impasse here. We're at a standoff. You know, the courts, they're commenting on something they really don't understand, but they're just reading the black and white. They're just reading the law. The law protects them. You know, we understand that you're hurt, what have you, but the law protects them. So
And does virtually
so what are we
nothing for us. Right.
Can you say that again? Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, yeah, I mean, you know, it protects the religion and does virtually nothing for the victims of religion.
Precisely.
Which is a real problem, especially here in America.
Yeah.
So, you know, moving forward, you know, I did want to say this on the show tonight, and we talked about it earlier. To all the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses across the world that are watching the show, I want to say that this is definitely not a time to get discouraged. I mean, the fact that we got this case to the court and it became worldwide news is a victory. So I think that if we keep pressing this stuff, if we keep pressing these issues, much like the civil rights movement here in America in the 60s, I think that eventually we will be victorious if we continue to let the public know and be good citizens and put people on notice that this is a problem. Because the shunning issue, you know, like we talked about earlier, it doesn't involve just not being recognized as a member of this particular religion. No, we're raised in a cult, and our friends and our family, and sometimes even our livelihoods, are cut off when we no longer want to participate in this religion. And that is very, very, very detrimental. It's very discriminatory. And we definitely need to do something about it. So,
Right.
you know, for everyone listening out here, for everyone watching, we may have lost this battle for now, but rest assured, we are not going to lose this war. I mean, you know, and I was saying this earlier, also, Gail, you know, if the Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body are the empire, kind of like Star Wars, we're the rebellion. And yeah, the rebellion lost a few battles before they finally claimed that victory, but we're going to claim that victory. So I think that we need to continue to let the public know about stuff like this, about this case, and we need to keep doing what we're doing, because what we're doing, it is working. And maybe it's not the overnight change that we wanted to see, but it is working.
Yeah, absolutely. So while you have that to say to the former Jehovah's Witnesses, we want to bring this to the attention of Jehovah's Witnesses who are still in. Do you realize that the organization that you're participating in is causing, you know, mental, psychological suffering to its former members? That's not right. You know, it oversteps their free will. And all of these articles that I have here in front of me, they all said, well, you know, this can be resolved if they go back. No, for some people, it goes against their conscience to go back. They don't want to be a part of the group. So then you don't have free will anymore, and it's manipulation, and it's blackmail, and withholding love until you return to the organization. That to me, that's inhumane. To me, that's
That,
inhumane. And I think Watchtower shot themselves in the foot with this one, you know, fighting it so hard, because they were there at the appeals court. They really did. Because this is just, you know, further confirmation that there's no justice. They will fight tooth and nail. There's justice for them, but not for the victims. And the attitude towards people suffering is, oh, well, you know, those are Jehovah's standards. No, it's not. And if you look back at two stories in the Bible, one about the prodigal son, which I'm not going to preach about tonight because we don't discuss Bible here on Saturday night, the prodigal son, and the Good Samaritan. He was shunned. When he was hurt by the side of the road, he was shunned by the priest. And it was
by
the
the
Good
priest.
Samaritan. By the priest. He was shunned. They crossed the road to avoid him. And so there was a lesson in that, and that's a lesson that we're not really. They talk about it a little bit in the Watchtower, but they always manage to get around. Well, that's Jehovah's way of doing things.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, we want to. One thing that's going to help us to get beyond this is not to comply with
That's right.
those decisions anymore, because they're man-made decisions, not to comply. And I challenge witnesses that the next time you see a disfellowship person, say hello. You're not going to get struck by lightning.
You'd be
Say hello.
surprised.
Can you do
Right.
that? You know, because a lot of witnesses don't know about that people are taking their lives by suicide.
No,
They
'cause a
don't know
lot.
about the depression and the isolation and the loneliness that they go through because of a decision that they made. So I think it's
I
up
have
to us
known,
to keep talking about it.
yeah, I have
Mhm.
known ex-witnesses who have been disfellowshipped and have committed suicide amidst the guilt and lack of social skills and the lack of being able to talk to their family, sometimes even their children and their friends over this. So for the court to say, oh, well, it's not that bad, basically, that's what they're saying. It's not
That
that
is
bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete slap in the face and it's completely untrue, more importantly.
Yeah. It's worse than you
So,
think. But
yeah,
I think you have somebody you'd like for us to hear from. Would you like to bring her on now?
I do. So
Okay.
I was talking to my mother about this today. So for everyone listening, my mom is a law graduate from Cooley University, and
Right.
she had some ideas and maybe some possible solutions about what we ex-Jehovah's Witnesses can do here on the battlefront to maybe fight this moving forward. So I'm going to give her a call real quick, and maybe she can kind of give us a little bit of light on this and maybe even a couple of solutions or options. So yeah, let me give her a call real quick.
Hi.
Hey mom, you're on the show.
Oh, great. Hey, guys, I'm listening. You're doing a great job. Incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Ma.
Hi there.
So
I love the dialogue that's going on right now. You've made some points that are like, they're kind of like oatmeal. They're kind of like stick to your ribs kind of stuff. You don't get rid of it easily. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's just powerful stuff. The shunning is such an issue, and I've watched it over and over and over again. And like the atheists, I've seen people that have lost their lives, that have been so isolated and abandoned by everything important to them that they lost all hope, and that has to stop.
Yeah.
So I remember earlier, Mom, we were talking about some possible. Well, first off, you were explaining the process of how it happened, and then after that, you named a couple of really good examples like civil rights and gay rights, and how they were able to achieve what they did. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the thing is that I have the benefit of having this law education, right? So the one thing that you learn in law is that there isn't a black and white, and the answer is always going to be it depends. So it depends on the presenter, it depends on the receiver, and it depends on what your opinion is based on what the law says. So in this case specifically, I read all the information I could find on it today. And you have to understand the Americas, the United States, our legal footprint is basically a mirror of the UK because we came from Britain, right? So we left there from tyranny. We didn't want the taxes. We didn't want them telling us what to do. We come to America. We establish our own little pretense, right? But we pretty much adopt other than Parliament, their example of what the law is. So here's where people got it right, and here's where people got it wrong, and then I'd like to share with you how you can resolve. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So here's how it goes. Let me give you the most basic example of any legal pretense is negligence. There are 4 things that have to be proven for somebody to be guilty of or culpable for negligence. It is you had a duty to do something, you breached the duty, there were actual damages, and you are the reason the damages happened. It's just 4, right? There are many other legal concepts that are much more complicated than that, but this is a good example for the case we're talking about currently, okay? So you've got these 4 legal things. Now, when your victim is in court presenting their evidence, If they're saying the Jehovah's Witnesses, JW.org, was negligent for something, they were culpable / responsible for something that happened to them, and if negligence is your legal argument, then you have to prove the 4 concepts of a legal argument for negligence, which is duty, a breach of the duty, right? Damages, and you actually cause the damage, right? So in the case in the UK, what your victim didn't prove, according to the court, was the legal standard. So you have these laws. Laws are put together in any country, basically, is that there is a problem. The law is created to address the problem, right? Generally speaking, specifically with regard to the UK and the United States, it was voted into law, right? And so at that point, now we are responsible for proving the elements of the law you created. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. A lot of sense. Yes.
So let's go deep. Let's go deeper. You want to? Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's go.
So what happened in this case was that there were elements of her charge that the court felt like she didn't prove. So, for instance, if it's a shunning case, what are we talking about? Is it a violation of civil rights? Is it whatever the standard is for the UK, right? We know what those are reading the case. They made it super clear in that article today what they were looking for and what was proven. It's not a matter of personal opinion. It is not that the court didn't even agree with her. What they're basically saying was, you had a couple of things you had to show us. Their legal standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. So they're saying you had to show us A, B, and C beyond a reasonable doubt. In our opinion, as the court, you didn't do it. It's as simple as that. It's super small. Now, our natural emotion, because these cases regarding shunning, shaming, sexual abuse, all the other stuff, the witnesses have gotten away with forever because they remanded you back to the elders, which in their view was their court, but didn't have any kind of legal consequence, right? And to keep it all quiet, you had to go back to the elder guys and say, this happened to me, and then they were going to promptly sweep it under a rug somewhere, an unidentified location where all the stuff they did bad was remanded to, right? In her case, she went above and beyond that. She went in court of law and said, this is happening to me. This is a legal concept that I'm filing my complaint under, knowing full well there was going to be a legal standard or some criteria that she had to prove. The court said she didn't do it. She didn't prove her case, and that responsibility was on her. She was the person bringing the argument. Therefore, she was one that should have proved the argument. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, being that you have to prove so much, me and Gail were kind of trying to brainstorm earlier about solutions. And I remember, you brought up 2 really good points about civil rights and gay rights. And, I was just wondering, what do you think that we could do moving forward to try to gain some momentum about this whole shunning game?
The first thing that I would offer you is this. I've told you your entire life one thing. If you lose your cool, what, Jeremy?
You lose the war.
Yeah, you lose your cool, you lose your case. First thing that the witnesses have to do, and I'm not saying they're not victims. I think they are absolutely victims. I was in that organization for a short time, as you know. If you lose your cool, you lose your case. So what does that translate to in the natural? It means this. Take your feelings out of this argument right now.
Okay.
The greatness of the civil rights movement and the gay marriage movement was simply this. They took their feelings out of it. Not to say they didn't have them. I'm sure there were a lot of people broken, tired, exhausted, crying, all of those things that you guys feel, right? Like this girl and the others are devastated by the result of their case. But it's not about your feelings. The court doesn't care how you feel because They're not allowed to. If you look at the greatest picture of the justice system, it is a blindfolded person holding a scale, right, that has equal weight on both sides. The scales of justice are blind. So your feelings are irrelevant. That would be the first thing I would tell you. I might encourage you to step back, talk about all your feelings, and shut them down. Because you're not going to win the war with your feelings, number one. Number two, Dr. Martin Luther King did this better than anyone. He continued to move forward by keeping his mouth shut. He wasn't outside of his element, antagonizing, protagonizing. He wasn't doing any of it. He was preaching as a preacher, a man of God, right? He was giving his message in a very succinct and tiny kind of way and kept bringing the message. Now, don't you know when people were getting hit by fire hoses and being shot and murdered and hung from trees in Mississippi? I guarantee you he felt something about that. But what he didn't do was react. He kept saying, I have a dream that we're going to be free. I have a dream that we're going to be free. I'm positive he went home every night and cried. But he didn't show that to the world.
Well, I love what you said earlier. You know, you said the whole thing about don't get mad, get organized. And I feel like that is what we need to keep doing. You know, I think we definitely have a reason to be mad, but I think we'd be better if we could get organized about this and keep pounding, you know, keep pounding away.
Absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And that's the third point. So Dr. Martin Luther King was passive, quiet. His people were being murdered, and he prayed a lot, and he was hitting his knees. But when he got out in front of public, which is what I'm going to encourage you guys to do, keep your poker face going. Don't talk about your feelings. Don't try to start a revolution. Start trying to cause a revelation. And that's number three. That's what gay people won their fight. They didn't get all up in their feelings. They got organized. They didn't get mad. They got organized. And that's where you, as the public, win if you're a watchtower person, which I certainly am. And I'm an advocate for everything that you're doing. I've never been more proud of anybody in my life than I am you. And you and I disagree vehemently about a lot of things. But on this point, I'm with you. They got mad. They couldn't buy houses together as gays and lesbians, LGBTQ. I don't know. It gets bigger every day. But I'm saying, in support of that argument, what I would say is get your feelings out of it and get organized. You get a couple of people that have a big idea, and you get a couple more people that buy into the big idea, and you control your feelings, and the next thing you know, your big idea is a law, and it has set precedent for the entire country. That's how you win here. Now, by the way, both of those cases, the Civil War movement started in 1962 or 3, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was the early 70s. That fight was acknowledged, but still there were separate bathrooms, all kinds of stuff. It was a systematic deterioration of a lie, right? So you have this big pillar of justice. These poor guys, these whatever. They're all saying, oh, black people need to use another bathroom. Oh, we don't know if they're carrying disease, whatever. They systematically, brick by brick, took down the building. If you look at demolition, I'm a contractor, I'm a general contractor. I've taken down a lot of buildings. You don't do it with one swing. You do it with a lot of little ones. That ball swings back and hits the building, a couple of bricks fall down. The next time it hits a couple more. And it hits hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times before the building has been brought down. That's what you're going to do here. That's what Martin Luther King did. That's what gay rights, LGBTQ, that's what they did. They kept swinging the freaking wrecking ball, and maybe they missed the building once time. Maybe they took out a couple of bricks. Next time they took out 5. Then they didn't swing for a while. The point being, you have to consistently attack the big issue in a little way. People don't see you coming if you're coming at them small. That's America got wiped out right now. We didn't see all of this stuff coming that's happening right now because we weren't paying attention, because the moves were small.
Right.
And that's how you, little moves, brick by brick, be consistent, take your feelings out of it, don't get mad, get organized.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more and more ideas about how to move forward and, you know, raise enough public awareness to where this gains momentum and the court starts to take us seriously.
Well, and that's how precedent happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of court decisions going crazy right now, Roe versus Wade. It's not important what you think about that decision. What is important that 60 years they kept pounding that one rock until it came down. That's going to be the same case, and was the same case for civil rights. Do you understand that the civil rights argument started in the 1800s? Not the 1900s, the 1800s. They fought for 100 years. It's an incredible story. You know that all men were declared equal in 1879? It was another 100 years before they actually were equal.
Wow.
That's a terrifying statistic, right? And so the same with there are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, whatever. Same. They were saying you don't have a right based on the First Amendment to tell me who I am or am not allowed to marry. That was their one argument. They only needed one good one, and they pounded it and consistently spoke about it and consistently took it to court. So here's where Watchtower went. Here's where your apostasism, this is where your advocacy for this group of people, including you, who knows your story better than me, right? I know it. I know all of it. Who better than somebody that lived through it to represent it? Yeah. So you don't do it in your feelings. You do it following other great examples of how to win your case. Martin Luther King, lesbian and gay rights, Roe versus Wade. I can pull up 1,000 of them and send them to you all day long. The one thing that they have in common is that they consistently took it back to the court. And that will be how you win.
Well, thank you for that, Mom. I appreciate that perspective. It's encouraging.
I certainly hope so, because I know it's still defeated, like you're not moving forward, but every time you get a no, you're closer to the yes.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to tell our audience members tonight. You know, yes, we did lose this battle, but the fact that we even were able to take it to court this time, that is a victory. That in itself is a victory.
Agreed. It's agreed, and it's more than agreed, because the only way you get things done is by presenting a plausible argument that makes people consider what they think, right? So if I'm a staunch, I think the sky is blue. I think the sky is blue. You're never going to convince me otherwise until you do. How do you do is how you keep coming. Like I said, not the first time. Maybe the next time I listen to you 30 seconds longer. Maybe the next time, okay, it might not be entirely blue. Maybe there's some green in there. That's the point. You just keep coming, and you take out your foundation brick by brick.
I like what you're saying.
The disappearance of Watchtower is staggering. They are at 1/3 of their numbers 10 years ago. Well, what does that mean? It means so keep going.
I mean, I like it. I mean, it's simple, but it's profound. You know, create a good argument, stick with it, and
pound that rock.
I think that's something that we could all do. You know, for everyone listening, let's continue to refine this argument on shunning, and let's keep shoving it in their face and letting them know, hey, here's our really good argument about why shunning is so destructive and discriminatory, and why we and you need to do something about it. And so
I couldn't agree with you more. You're right.
And then eventually
the thing is this, it is so easy to fall into your emotions because it's such a volatile argument, right, Gail? I mean, this one gets me. It is personal. I watched my son suffer through this. I watched him be disfellowshipped, and there was nothing I could do, nothing I could say that was going to change the end result of that. The only thing we can change is how it happens going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
I do have a question, though, a legal question. The articles quote the Declaration of Human Rights and also the Constitution with the First Amendment, the freedom of religion. Does one trump the other? Because it looks like they're relying on both.
So really, the First Amendment is the ultimate amendment for religious freedom, for sovereignty in your home. The First Amendment is the one that says you do not have a right to do these things. That criteria is lined out pretty clearly, and it's specific. So what they're saying is, okay, we can tax you, we can give you got to pass the driver's test, but we can't do a couple things that have to do with your quality of life. Your First Amendment guarantees you freedom of religion or not religion. It guarantees you freedom to live how you want to in your home, because your home is sovereign, right? So the witnesses are trying to make a case that under their umbrella, you actually don't have a right to your civil rights. There is nothing more incorrect in the world than that observation. They actually believe that they have control of you, but oh, alas, that separation of church and state, that's actually a win for you, because the government doesn't agree with that point of view. The government says, what you do in your house is your own damn business. Go nuts. That's what the government says. So beyond that, you're walking in my front door. If I'm running around naked with pasties on, that's my choice. That's my home. That's how I want to live. You have no right to have an opinion or otherwise about it as the government. That's the separation factor. The First Amendment guarantees you the right to live your life as you choose to. The Jehovah's Witnesses are saying, nope, if you're in our cult, then you're going to live your life our way. And we do have a right to invade your privacy. We have a right to know everything about your life. And I couldn't disagree with that more. I've got a 9mm that says you're not walking in my house. Jeremy and I joke about this all the time. DA and I joke about this all the time. I got a 9mm that says you're not coming through my front door. I think that's true for religious concepts as well. I've got a weapon that says you don't have a right to have an opinion on my life. Period.
Well, this is exactly what we need to make the court aware of.
You have no right to that space. You don't have a right to demean me. You don't have a right to abuse me emotionally, physically, whatever. You don't have a right to shame me. You don't have a right to shun me, because I have a right to my liberty and my quality of life, and that's why I have to back you off of me. And that's where the witnesses find themselves now. Oh my Lord. I'm looking at the docket for the UK. There are probably 30 cases for this same kind of behavior. Now you're going to get one of those, and then you're going to win one. And that's going to change everything, because now you have precedent.
Wow. Okay.
Which is what they were trying to avoid, which is what this panel was trying to avoid. They were trying to avoid the precedent being set, in particular for the Catholic Church. The decision is dangerous for the Catholic Church. And I thought that was interesting. That was an interesting statement.
I did too. I was talking to him. I was talking to the ASIS earlier about this. And so you have to understand the point of view from that church is always going to be religious, right? It doesn't matter that children are being abused, that people are committing suicide. They're always going to staunchly stand on the religious legality of it, the aspect of that. And even though they would never in their lives support the witness, the congregation of the witnesses, they are going to stand with them because it's a religious issue in their mind.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. And we've got to reach the humanitarian part of this battle. We had to appeal to their human senses, right?
I couldn't agree with you more, Gail. And the thing is this, we're not talking numbers. These aren't widgets. These are people.
Yeah. Right.
Are people you're doing this to. How dare you stand up in the name of Jehovah God and dismiss a family member or tell parents they can't talk to her daughter because she's a lesbian? Get the fuck out of here. I am a Christian, and I'll be the first one to tell you the first thing I'm dismissing is you, because my kids are first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Period.
Well, Mom, thank you
This
for
is
your
amazing.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show, Mom.
I hope that this to you guys. I'll leave you with this.
I guess you can't hear me.
Get organized.
We
Thank
got
you,
someone,
Mom.
someone that wants to speak up, maybe to your mother. Go ahead, sister.
Hi, this is Pastor Babe Linda James, and I am part of the LGBTQ community, and what has worked with us is HARP. So that's about the human rights. So everything you're talking about makes perfect sense. And isn't this a human right issue that we're attempting to defend ourselves with? I mean, Article 18 not only says that you have the freedom to exercise the religion you want to, but it also states that you have the right and freedom to change your religion.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's right in there with Article 18. This is my human right. I have a human right to be an apostate, don't I?
Yeah.
You have a human right to be anything you want to be, and that is really the whole argument, really.
Yeah.
In its simplest form, you have a right to be anything you want to be. Anything.
Awesome. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that is
Certain groups can tell us to leave if we break. I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I get that if you break some rules, you'll get kicked out of a group. That's fine. Groups have rules. But when it has to come to the kind of enforcement that they have that includes once you leave this organization, and that is the shunning, the dispensation of existence, they are to be treated as though they are dead, as though they do not exist. It's inhumane. And that goes against, that's definitely something to get organized, which is, you know, the daughter of a Jehovah's Witness was part of the BLM program. Well,
You know,
they got organized. In spite of what people think the end result was, they were organized, and it went worldwide.
yes. You're cutting in and out, but I'm listening on my YouTube channel. But here's the thing. I'm so happy that you chimed in. I can't tell you how proud I am to have you on the call. Because here's the thing. You have a right to be anything you want to be. You have a right to fight in any way you choose to fight. But they don't. They have to subscribe to a legal concept. And if they can't do that, what they're doing to you is personal. And that's where the inhumanity of it all, that's where your human rights issue comes in, right? If it's not a legal concept, then they're just attacking you as a human being. And that will never endure. You're going to get a lot of no's in cases because this is foreign. Just like Dr. Martin Luther King got, just like your community, LGBTQ, just like that community got a 1,000 no's.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when
You know,
yeah, you just get up and go again.
maybe we need to revisit this. Maybe we need to rethink this another way. And then you only need one precedent to change the world. One person to go, I think this is a plausible human rights issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes the game. But you keep fighting.
Wow, this was
I
encouraging.
understand the organization goes to court and claims to be their own government, which that's what the United States looks at them as their own government. So the United States kind of does this, well, we have no business telling them how to run their government. And that's how they usually win. You know, they can establish their own rules.
We copied their government. We left because of taxes. Don't get it twisted. We left for money. It was cash. It was tea. It was taxes. We came here and basically replicated their model and gave our own spin on it. So we understand a lot about their legal system. A lot.
Okay. So looking into HARC, HRC, Human Rights Coalition, would be something very smart to study on how they did, how the LGBT community has gone from, you know, all these years to where we're at today. Yes, that's very true.
Seems like a good idea.
Right. And it's
I really appreciate you very much.
But remember what I said when I first started. The legal concept only allows you to hear a case based on what the legal element that is required to prove is. It doesn't mean that people aren't in agreement about how horrible this is. It just means that the 4 or 3 things legally were not proven to the satisfaction of the court. So what do? You go back, and I want to leave you with this because this is so important. Read and educate yourself. If this is a UK case, go to their laws and read everything you can find on human rights. Look at the elements of proving a human rights violation in their court, and then start manipulating your argument to meet that standard.
Okay.
Thank you.
A lot of good ideas. Yeah.
You are so
I appreciate you very much.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the show, Mom, and offering some good perspective.
It's my pleasure, and anytime you need me, I'm happy to jump in. Listen, do not lose heart.
Oh, I won't. No worries. I'm not giving up ever.
Just keep going. You know, in the movie Nemo, right? That's right. Remember the movie Nemo, right? Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. You guys are doing an incredible thing for lost people that feel abandoned by everyone in their world. Don't you dare quit. I'm so proud of what you're doing.
Thank you, Mom.
I love you, buddy.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much. This was encouraging. Yeah. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, I love her. I see where you get it from. She has a fight in her. I see where you get it
She's
from.
got a lot of fight in her. I will say this, my mom is definitely a fighter.
Yeah. But I was taking notes, man. I have my notes. Get the feelings out of it. Shut down your feelings. You know, we have to prove these 4 standards: duty, breach of duty, damages, negligence. To me, when she was talking about the bricks are the people. So we have to appeal to the people's sense of humanity. Like, this isn't right. Do you want to keep partaking in something that's so damaging to people? So that was very encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, I think of bricks. I think about breaking down the walls too. And I think that that's a good idea that maybe we could all do. You know, let's continue to refine this argument and keep pounding.
Yeah. And she said systematically deteriorate the lie. And I didn't get to play the video. I won't, because we're trying to wrap here. But there were several lies that were told in there, you know, about, of course, your family relations doesn't change. It absolutely does. So
yeah, I'd love for you to post a link after this video is posted. You ought to post a link on the bottom or in the info.
Yeah,
I'd like
I'll
to
do that. Yeah, it was 3 hours. It was kind of hard and infuriating to see people who didn't even know about the religion talk about it. But like your mom said, justice is blind. They had those blinders on to what the Jehovah's Witnesses rules and, you know, how it affects people. They were just looking at the law and how it affects the law. That's it. So I can look at it, go back and probably look at it again. with those blinders on to see if I can understand what they're trying to say. But
Yeah.
man, this was amazing. Hi, Rick. Do we have anybody that wants to chime in here?
Well, let's see. I think there was a few people coming in. I just wanted to say too, Deasis, you got quite the mom there. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah.
I'll
Oh
tell you
yeah.
what, she must have kept you in line. I can't imagine you getting anywhere going astray when you were young, because that's the type of mother that gets the big stick out, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You have no idea.
Well, she was making me laugh. Hey, listen, we've got a number of people on here tonight. Why don't you come in, say hello to Deasis, say hello to Gail. They're here on the 6 screens tonight, so don't be
She
bashful.
definitely changed the vibe. I mean, she definitely changed the vibe of the whole show.
Oh, she did.
I loved having her on. Yeah.
Here we go. We got someone
Hello.
calling.
Okay.
Go ahead, you're with us.
It's Matt. It's Matt from Australia. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. How are
Hey,
you?
Matt. Good.
Are you there, Rick?
I'm here. Yes, Matt. Go ahead.
Hey, Matt. How's it going? Fantastic. I'm absolutely loving the show. Gail, you're doing an amazing job, and I really, really enjoy it. And both of you are incredible. So thank you very much. I'm actually really enjoying listening to your program. It's so insightful. And yeah, your mum is incredible too. I'm scared of her, actually. I'm scared.
Hey, me too.
Really. So, yeah, I just wanted to just make a very quick note, is that when we campaigned in Australia for the watchtower to be considered in the terms of reference for the National Apology and the ARC, the Royal Commission into Abuse, is that basically the government is, as you know, is all the law books are filled with the legal precedents of watchtower. Now, I know that's the same in the United States. We're under common law. So basically, freedom of expression and public assembly and not saluting the flag and all of that is actually watchtowers either state. So basically, the highest courts are letter lawyers, to put it that way, and they deal it that way. And I think the bit that actually plays in that, we talk about how we lose these cases because the courts say, no, that's their right, their right to, I suppose, association. They choose who can come in and out. But this is the point. When the likes of Anthony Morris III and Stephen Lett talk about, waiting for the day when all these wicked, evil people and the governments are all going to be killed, that is only playing to their internal audience. And the fact is that most governments don't even understand they say those kind of things. They're really shocked because the very existence of Watchtower is they are the system. They are more than the system than the church or any of the Protestant churches or the Adventists. They are the system. And because obviously they started as a publishing corporation. It wasn't a religion. And they have been heavy investors in the system. And I know that Jason Zelda did a lot of work on that and so forth. So actually getting Jehovah's Witnesses to realise that it is not Jehovah that is protecting them, but actually it's the Supreme Court or the High Court,
right.
or the common law. That is what's enshrined in legislation, or the rights of basically the religious freedoms. That's actually what keeps them in business, and that's their Achilles heel. But I think to understand that, like your mum said, that when they don't have the evidence to prove damage is being done by shunning or so, right,
then Watchtower turns around and says, you see, Jehovah's mighty arm protected us. And you're like, no, it wasn't. It's because you didn't prove those 4 elements like your mum said.
Mhm.
So I think the argument until things change is that, number one, it's not Jehovah that's protecting them. It's actually the legal system. It's the actual common law that's saving them, number one. And secondly, you cannot behave that way in a workplace. You're not allowed to shun somebody at the workplace. You can't just decide, well, I'm not going to talk to Jenny today. I'm not going to talk to Jenny ever because she's wearing the wrong colour shirt. It doesn't work that way. You
Right.
do. Right? So,
Yes.
to me...
It's called icing. And it's called icing someone out. Yeah. In the workplace.
Absolutely. That's my point, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's real. And as for us, as unfortunately for us, is that I think when we leave Watchtower, it took me a long time. I was in for probably near on 40 years. And when I got out, I still, the programming is this, what Jehovah says, or what apparently the Bible says. It's not. They don't. That's just the stuff that you feed the plebs. Behind the scenes, they read every newspaper, every court document that's related to them. They go and see all the politicians. They're in with the UN. They're in with the banking system. They're in with the trust funds. They are the system. And the same as the medical field. It is, it's this, how can I say this, they're embedded. They're embedded in the hospitals, embedded in the universities, they're embedded in the schools. Now, there's other denominations who, I'm not saying I agree with them, but at least they're honest. So we're no part of the world, and they go and hide somewhere in the back blocks. Okay, at least you can say, well, they really think that, at the end, they're sort of doomsday preppers. Jehovah's Witnesses aren't doomsday preppers. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation that survives on taxpayer-funded money. That's what they do. That's how they work. I mean, it's, like the organisation has managed to have slave labour. The Catholic Church doesn't. The Protestants don't. Interest really don't. So they are, I mean, I know Rick talks about it as being the tentacles of Watchtower, but they basically, they're the great sponge. They just soak up everything. They soak up everything. And the new acolytes of Watchtower that we're seeing are media whisperers. They're liars. Like when during the pandemic, Hendricks, I think it was, that came out and said, well, we're changing tact and our online platform is now basically a community forum. What? To tell them that they're all going to die soon? That their children are little sinners ready to be barbecued like sausages? You're going to tell them that? No, you're not.
Little enemies.
Yes, I know. Little baby enemies, So are you going to say that? Are you going to say if you wear tight pants you'll turn homosexual? I mean, no. That's the issue. So, but I love your program, guys. God bless you, doing amazing.
They did a great job.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for being here.
Oh, good. You guys were there. I didn't know you were there.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Well,
now.
we have gone way over time. We're sorry, Linda. We've run into your time. We're going to keep this conversation going.
Love you, Matt.
Love you.
I don't mind. And we love all of the Timos too, yes.
So if we take anything away from this show is don't get mad, get organized. So I'm sure you'll be hearing from us again. Thank you for being here. Do you have any closing thoughts, Diasis?
Yeah, don't lose heart. When we are fighting in a war, we will lose battles, but that does not mean that we will lose this war. We're going to win. It's a matter of time. So yeah, everyone stay encouraged. Keep fighting. Don't lose heart.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And Rick, I'll turn it over back to you.
Well, there we go, Gail. Lots of people listening in. Thank you very much. Great program. Yeah, I'm impressed. The Aces, you got quite the mother there. I'm going to tell you, I hope you send her flowers and chocolates from time to time. Quite.
Yeah. You ought to see us when we debate.
There you go. Well, thank you guys very much. All right, we're going to go to Healing After the Watchtower. We've got a pasta babe, Linda James. She'll be coming up next right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. So we're going to be discontinuing this broadcast, but stay with us in about 5 minutes. We'll come on with Linda. So come back to YouTube. And we want to thank all the people for commenting in here tonight. And thank you, Matt. Always good to hear from Matt from Australia. Thank you very much. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. If you can't sleep tonight and you're pacing the floor, well, stay with the pasta babe. She'll be on all night long. Thank you. Bye now.